One of the more popular questions that we have had come up recently is surrounding basements, and do we have them here in Delaware? How can we have basements if we are so close to the ocean? And do the basements get water in them if you do have one? So I just wanted to take some time today, discuss through just a few different things on how we do have some homes with basements, how we're able to do that so close to the water, and just give you the lowdown on everything basements here in coastal Delaware. Before we dive into the video, as always, welcome back to our channel and living in coastal Delaware. My name is Matt Lunden. I'm a real estate agent here in coastal Delaware, and I put out content each and every week discussing everything about coastal Delaware, what it's like to live, eat, breathe, sleep, and play right here at the beach. So if you would like to see some more of that content, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below and smash the notification bell next to it just so you can stay in the loop each week when we go live with new content. And then if you are someone that's looking to buy or sell real estate here in coastal Delaware, that's what we help you with every single day, and we would love to help you. So all my information will be just down below in the description and here on the screen. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love hearing from you guys here on the channel. Many of the buyers that I talk to that are relocating from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania are common feeder states. They all have basements in their home already, and one of the very common questions that we begin to see has been, do you have basements in coastal Delaware? If you do have basements, do they flood because you're so close to the ocean? So let's just dissect that a little bit, take a little bit deeper look into it, and give you the lowdown on how we are able to have basements here in coastal Delaware, even though our entire county, the highest point is only like 60 feet above sea level. So just to give you a little bit of a deeper dive into basements here in Sussex County. So as we look at it, the biggest reason why a lot of new construction can have basements is really one of two things. They do a soil test to figure out how fast water drains to that soil. And as long as it's in that sandy soil and not sitting on a clay base, you can typically have a basement associated with that new construction home. Because the soil is draining fast enough, the water doesn't collect next to the home. However, anytime you disturb soil, like if you take some farmland and all of a sudden you put a bunch of homes on it, you could disturb the way water drains, and you could eventually end up with some water in your basement if you are building new construction. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get water, and it's not guaranteed that there's going to be no water. I'm not making any guarantees. I'm just saying more often than not, we do not see water in basements. We see it on occasion with new construction. After the home settles a little bit, you may get just some rainwater that flows through there, but it's very easy to fix. There's a number of companies in the area that repair concrete, and that's ultimately who you would call to have them repair the basement. However, most of the time when builders are offering basements in homes, the county is looking at two things. Where do you sit in relation to the floodplain? Where is that? How often is that home likely to flood? And then the other part of that being, can the builder build a little bit up on the lot so the basement doesn't actually go as deep into the soil? So what many of these builders are doing is they're finding pieces of land that are already a little bit elevated over sea level, and then they're bringing in some fill dirt to actually raise that home up a little bit. So the first few feet of the basement are actually above the soil level, and then the percent that's below the soil level is typically a much smaller portion, similar to like a 4-foot crawl space would be. So you really only probably have 5 feet of actual underground basement where you'll be above the water table and not at the risk, or at as high of risk, I should say, of flooding. So you're not just grabbing the piece of land, starting from scratch and just digging down. You are building up a little bit in order to get yourself away from that water table just a touch, because like I said, we are close to the water level, or the sea level. I think the highest point, as I mentioned, is in the entire county is only about 60 feet above sea level. So as we get closer to the beaches, we are even closer to sea level than you are in some of the western parts of the county, but we are still able to have basements. Now, my advice for having a basement here in coastal Delaware, especially if you are buying new construction, I would not finish that basement right away. My personal advice just is to err on the conservative side of things, and it's a lot easier to just clean up some water off of a unfinished concrete floor than it is to have to pull out carpet, pull out drywall, and everything else. So if you are considering building new construction with a basement, My advice would be to have the builder just leave it unfinished. Wait a good year or two for that home to settle. And that way, if you experience any cracking in the concrete, you can have one of those companies come in and fix those cracks. They inject a silicone type based material into the wall, and it spreads throughout the entirety of the crack. That way there's no threat of any more water coming back in, and it's just a lot easier, like I said, to fix and repair water on concrete than it is if you have it completely finished and now you're looking at ripping out insulation, ripping out drywall, potentially some of the wood studs, and you've just got a lot bigger and more expensive project on your hand than if you would have just delayed that gratification a little bit and finished the basement off a year or two down the road. Now, there is the part that I understand that you would like to maybe include the finishing of that basement in your financing if you are securing financing for the home, which I totally understand. If it is too big of an undertaking to go through later on, you can certainly have the builder finish it. I would just be very careful and very cognizant of where that home is being built, what the sea level is like in that area, where the water table is at in that area, and the likelihood of some water just sitting next to the home. Obviously, grading and a lot of that kind of stuff that the builder puts into the community will help take that into, a little bit consideration to where the water won't sit right next to the home. But just know that if you are finishing a basement and the home settles and you get a settlement crack in the foundation wall, like a hairline crack, and then all of a sudden we get a heavy rain from a hurricane or something like that, you may end up with some water in your basement. I'm not saying it's guaranteed you will. I'm not saying it's guaranteed you won't. But just know that if you do end up with some water behind the walls, you may not know about it. So it's easier to fix and replace if the basement is not finished yet. So I would always advise waiting a year or two prior to finishing anything in your basement, just because you don't know what's to come down the road. Again, I know it's kind of a shock that we are able to have basements here in coastal Delaware. Again, it greatly depends on the area. I've had some homes that builders have built just a few blocks from the ocean, and just the way the lot has been set up, they've been able to put a 6-foot basement in there. So maybe it's not a full depth basement, but we do offer basements here. They are still few and far between. Some builders put them in more common than others because of the land types that they buy. But we do have some communities, and we've got a decent number of new communities that are offering basements. So if a basement is a must for you, we definitely have homes here in coastal Delaware that do have basements, but more often you will see like a lot of that storage space and that kind of stuff on a second floor than you would in a basement, just because of where we sit in relation to sea level. That's the lowdown on basements here in coastal Delaware. I hope you guys took some value away from today's video. If you did take some value away, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button once again down below and smash that notification bell next to it, just so you can stay in the loop each week when we go live discussing all things coastal Delaware. And as I mentioned before, if you or someone you know is looking to buy or sell real estate here in coastal Delaware, we would love the opportunity to work with you. So please do not hesitate to reach out. All my information is down below in the description and here on the screen. If you shoot me a note, someone from my team will be in contact with you right away. Look forward to hearing from you guys. Peace.